Here at Holley, we've sold literally millions of carburetors. And while no two carburetors are ever created equally, most carb-related tuning issues are caused by either improper selection or poor installation. So I'd like to give you some basic pointers and do a comprehensive rundown on installing your next carburetor from Holley. Let's start with carb selection. Matching your carburetor to your engine's needs is critical. Unfortunately, more often than not, it ends up being based on what your buddy suggests or just plain guessing. Holley's created an easy-to-use carburetor selector guide that you can use for free right on our website. Just enter some basic information and it'll determine which carbs are right for you. No more guesswork. Just remember, bigger isn't always better when you're selecting the right carb for your application. And Holley even offers a broad range of E85 and methanol carburetors for you serious racers. If the engine that you're working on already has the intake manifold installed on it, you'll need to make sure that it matches up with your new carb. Some of the most popular carb designs that we produce here at Holley are the 2300 2-barrel, 4150 and 4160 4-barrel, 4165 spread bore 4-barrel, and the 4500 that we like to call the Dominator. If you don't know which style you need, do a visual inspection and measure the distance between the studs to verify that your carb will work on your intake before you purchase. If you need a new intake, we can help with that too. We have plenty of options from Holley and Wyan to help complete your engine build. We even offer package kits that include the intake, carburetor, and the necessary hardware and gaskets to install them. We sell a wide array of carburetors from brands like Holley, Quick Fuel, Brawler, Demon, and Street Demon to fit most any bolt pattern. But if we don't have one, or you want to swap to a different style carburetor but keep your current intake, we have carb adapters to fit most any combination you can think of. Now, let's get our hands dirty. If you're removing an old carburetor, be sure to label all vacuum lines and electrical connections. And it also helps to take a few pictures of the throttle and transmission connections before you remove them. Remember, there still may be some fuel in the bowls, so be careful not to spill it. Start by cleaning the carb mounting surface of the intake with some solvent and a rag. If the intake is being reused, look for any leftover gasket material and carefully remove it with a gasket scraper or razor blade. Inspect the surface for excessive corrosion or damage that may prevent proper sealing, and repair or replace the intake if necessary. If you don't already have them, install a new set of carburetor mounting studs. We offer studs in lengths up to 3 inches long to accommodate most any spacer or heat shield. If you are reusing the studs, check that the threads are in good condition and repair or replace them if necessary. The carb studs only need to be installed hand tight. And if you're using bolts instead of studs to secure your carb, it's a good idea to chase the threads to prevent stripping. And don't forget to apply a small amount of anti-seize to the bolt before installation. Place a new base gasket over the studs. Try to avoid reusing the gasket and make sure that you match the gasket with the intake design. If your intake is a 4-hole design, use the appropriately sized gasket. Or if the intake has an open design, use the open center gasket. We have plenty to choose from. Inspect the gasket, making sure that it covers the mounting flange on the intake completely to avoid vacuum leaks and does not interfere with the opening of the butterflies. If you're using a nitrous plate like this setup is, be sure to clean both sides of the nitrous plate as well and use 2 gaskets, one on top and one on bottom. Now we can set the carburetor onto the intake. Take care not to damage the threads of the carb studs or the new base gasket. Make sure that the carb seats properly and that there are no gaps or spaces between the carb and the manifold. You should also verify that you have full movement of the throttle lever and that there is no interference. If you're satisfied with the fitment, install the washers and hold down nuts, then using a crisscross pattern, torque them to between 60 and 80 inch-pounds. The throttle and transmission kickdown is our next item to address. There are a variety of methods used to actuate a throttle lever. Most rod-style throttle linkages will either use a ball stud, throttle stud, or a rod end to connect it to the lever. Cable designs typically use a ball stud or a saddle that's secured with a cotter pin or small bolt. When it comes to transmission kickdown levers, most carbs are already set up to work with the GM transmissions. If you're using a Ford or Chrysler transmission, some additional parts may be required for proper operation. Complete instructions and a list of parts required can be found in the Carburetor Instruction Manual that's located on our website under Tech Resources. Connect the kickdown rod or cable to the throttle lever and adjust per the vehicle manufacturer's recommendations. Don't forget to connect your throttle return springs. We recommend a setup that uses dual springs. If your old throttle or transmission bracket has seen better days, or maybe you're doing a new build, you can find just about any part you'll need to connect your throttle and transmission on our website at holley.com. Next, we need to connect the vacuum lines. The large port located at the back of the carburetor should be connected to the power brake booster vacuum line. If the vehicle is not equipped with power brakes, the port can be capped off. This port could also be used to feed a vacuum distribution block. Most carburetors will have a smaller, full manifold vacuum port that's located on the primary side of the base plate, and some carburetors may also have a larger vacuum port as well. Both of these ports can be used to operate vacuum accessories like cruise control, ram air scoops, hideaway headlights, and climate control diverter valves. Small vacuum tees can be used if you need to provide vacuum to more than one accessory. A timed spark port can be found coming off the choke side of the primary metering block. This port provides timed vacuum and can be used on engines equipped with a vacuum advanced distributor. Be sure to inspect and replace any cracked or dry rotted hoses to prevent vacuum leaks, and make sure and cap off any unused ports. One of the options you'll come across when using our carburetor selector is manual or electric choke, or no choke at all. If you have a manual choke setup, you'll need to connect the cable to the choke arm, adjust the choke blade, and secure the cable sheath to the bracket. If you've chosen an electric setup, we've already preset the choke at the factory. All you have to do is connect a wire providing switched 12-volt power to the spade terminal found in the side of the choke cap. Should you need to adjust the choke plate position, simply loosen the 3 Phillips screws holding the cap on. Rotate the cap counterclockwise to close the blades and clockwise to open them. As we near the end of our install, we can connect the fuel system. If you're replacing the factory carburetor or just upgrading your carb, more likely than not you'll have to upgrade the fuel fittings and fuel line as well. The first step is to identify the fuel bowl fitting design and size. Designs can range from a simple single feed hose barb or swivel fitting to an inverted flare or O-ring style AN fitting. We've used a variety of different fuel fitting designs and thread pitches over the years. Check the specifications for your particular carb model to verify that you get the correct fitting design and thread pitch. If you have a dual inlet style carb, you'll also need to measure the center to center distance of the fuel inlets to ensure that you get a fuel log with the correct dimensions. Be sure to check all connections for fuel leaks, and also inspect the fuel line for any deterioration or cracks and replace as needed before starting. The fuel pump should be properly sized for your system. A new 40 micron post filter installed, and the regulator should be set to approximately 6 psi at the carburetor for use with gasoline. To wrap up our install and prevent harmful contaminants or debris from entering the carburetor and possibly damaging your engine, you should always install an air cleaner. Most carburetors are tapped for air cleaner studs, which typically come in 1/4 and 5/16 inch diameters. If you need to adapt your carb to a different diameter stud, we offer stud adapters and conversion studs. You can find a huge selection of air cleaner styles, sizes, and colors to dress up your engine bay. Make sure you can obtain wide open throttle with the throttle lever once the air cleaner is in place. If needed, we carry air cleaner spacers and base adapters to help you finish the job. And remember, before you close your hood, measure the clearance between the air cleaner lid and the bottom side of your hood with some modeling clay to prevent damage. Well, all that's left to do now is go enjoy the performance of our new carburetor. If you'd like to learn more about any of the products I've mentioned, or to check out our other how-to videos, visit us at holley.com.